Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the literal engine of life, the fundamental mechanics of how living things actually stay alive. It's a process happening inside you right at this very second, and well, without it, life as we know it would just grind to an absolute halt.
So how do our cells get their energy? And what exactly happens to that air we just breathed in? Let's dive into this by taking a deep breath together and looking at what's really happening inside our bodies. We often think of breathing as just inhaling and exhaling, right? But honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real magic happens way down on a microscopic scale.
Here's our agenda for today. We'll start with the engine of life, compare aerobic versus anaerobic processes, look at respiration in plants, explore animal gas exchange, and wrap up with the human respiratory system. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The engine of life. Let's look at cellular respiration, the ultimate biological rule uniting all living things.
Now, the absolute crucial point to grasp here is that respiration isn't just breathing. It's the cellular engine that breaks down glucose to literally mint ATP. Think of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, as the universal energy currency of life. It's just like your phone needs a charged battery to function, your cells have to spend ATP to survive, grow, and repair. It's the currency of being alive.
And looking at the process, you can see it essentially breaks down into two major steps. It kicks off right in the cytoplasm with glycolysis, and then it moves into the mitochondria for the Krebs cycle. That second step is where it completes the oxidation to extract the absolute maximum amount of energy. It's a highly efficient little factory.
Section 2. Aerobic versus anaerobic respiration. Let's explore these two distinct pathways and how they depend on oxygen.
When we compare the two side by side, you'll immediately spot a massive difference in efficiency. Aerobic respiration, the one that uses oxygen, completely oxidizes glucose for a huge payout of 34 ATP molecules per glucose molecule. But anaerobic respiration, the one without oxygen, it yields a tiny, tiny fraction, just 2 ATP. It is a massive energetic downgrade for sure.
For organisms that actually use oxygen, this complete oxidation reaction transforms glucose and oxygen into carbon dioxide, water, and energy. And here's a crazy thought. Your body recycles its own weight in ATP every single day using this exact formula. That is literally why you need to breathe in oxygen and exactly why you breathe out carbon dioxide. It's the whole shebang.
But notice how a lack of oxygen completely rewrites glucose's fate. When oxygen isn't around to finish the job in the mitochondria, the process just stops short. In yeast, this incomplete breakdown produces ethanol, which, hey, is how we get bread and alcohol. In humans, though, say when you're sprinting and your muscles are totally starved for oxygen, it creates lactic acid. That's exactly what gives you that familiar, intense muscle burn.
Section 3. Respiration in plants. Now let's see how our green friends solve this universal need for energy.
We always talk about plants using photosynthesis to make food, right? But remember, they respire constantly too. The thing is, unlike animals, plants don't have complex transport systems like lungs or blood to move gases around. So instead, they rely entirely on simple diffusion. Gases just drift in and out through tiny pores on their leaves called stomata and lenticels on their stems, moving freely through intercellular spaces day and night.
But hey, don't just take my word for it. This classic lab experiment visually proves that plants are constantly respiring. If you place germinating seeds in a sealed flask with a small tube of potassium hydroxide, or KOH, the seeds respire and release CO2. The KOH actively absorbs that CO2, which actually creates a vacuum inside the flask that literally pulls the water level up in the glass tube. It's super cool to see in action.
Alternatively, we can use a chemical indicator to prove the exact same thing. By bubbling the gas expelled by those germinating seeds into a phenol red indicator, the liquid turns from a neutral pink color to a pale yellow. It undeniably confirms that respiring plants are pumping out carbon dioxide, turning the solution acidic. No lungs required. Moving on to Section 4, Animal Gas Exchange Structures. Let's explore the crazy evolutionary solutions diverse animals have developed to exchange these vital gases.
Because animals live in wildly different environments, nature had to engineer a highly specialized structure for every scenario. A microscopic amoeba? It simply diffuses oxygen straight across its cell membrane. Earthworms literally breathe right through their moist skin. And insects? They use this fascinating network of air tubes called trachea, completely bypassing the need for lungs altogether. And of course, in aquatic environments, lungs wouldn't work at all, so fish utilize gills. These are thin, highly folded, moist structures just packed with blood capillaries. As water rushes into the fish's mouth and over the gills, they expertly filter and absorb the dissolved oxygen straight into the bloodstream, all while simultaneously expelling carbon dioxide back into the water.
Section 5. The Human Respiratory System. Take a deep breath right now, because we are finally arriving at the main event.
In humans, this whole system really is a beautiful two-part harmony. First, you've got the external mechanical act of breathing, physically drawing air containing oxygen into the body. And second, you have the internal cellular respiration we talked about at the beginning. That's the part that actually takes that oxygen to break down glucose and create your ATP.
So, the air you just breathed in embarks on an incredible anatomical journey. It travels from your nostrils, down your pharynx and larynx, into the main windpipe, or trachea. From there, it branches out into the bronchi and smaller bronchioles inside the lungs until it finally reaches the tiny, balloon-like alveolar sacs. And that, my friends, is where the actual gas exchange happens.
And safely guarding this critical airway is an unsung hero called the epiglottis. It's a crucial little leaf-shaped flap of cartilage just above your larynx. Every single time you swallow, it acts as a trapdoor. It ensures your lunch goes safely down your esophagus to your stomach and doesn't end up in your trachea and lungs. Pretty important, right?
Now, once the oxygen gets all the way down into those tiny alveoli, it enters your blood capillaries. But how does it get from there into your actual muscles and organs? Well, it's all about concentration gradients. The oxygen diffuses from the highly concentrated blood into your oxygen-depleted tissues. Simultaneously, the carbon dioxide waste produced by those tissues is basically pulled back into the bloodstream to be exhaled. What's really amazing to me is that even when you breathe out as hard as you possibly can, your lungs never completely deflate. They always hold on to a little bit of air, known as the residual volume. This is a brilliant biological safety feature. It ensures that this life-sustaining gas exchange between oxygen and carbon dioxide never ever pauses, not even for a second between your breaths.
As we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this thought. While an insect breathing through tubes, a fish using gills, a plant respiring through its leaves, and you taking a deep breath might look completely different on the outside, we're all bound by the exact same cellular chemistry. Every time you take a breath, you're participating in the fundamental, universal process that powers the entire living world. Stay curious and keep exploring.